thought he was bigger than everybody, you know what I mean? But he wasn't the cleverest in my opinion, because when he was asked about the football, he says, "Can I score the winning goal?" And we went, "You're the goalkeeper. That doesn't happen."
He was not just a midfielder who scored goals. John Wark was a fighter, and sometimes he fought dirty. This is the story of 5 players he clashed with. Some he hated, one he hurt on purpose, and he admitted it. John Wark played football in the 1970s and 1980s. He was good at scoring, really good. One season, he scored 27 goals from midfield. That is a lot. But behind all those goals was a man who made enemies. He made them at training. He made them in matches. And he never forgot them. Wark played for Ipswich Town first. Then he joined Liverpool. Liverpool was the best team in England, but Wark struggled there. He got injured. Younger players took his place, and when that happened, Wark did not handle it well. He got angry, he got violent, and he hurt people. This is not a story about medals and trophies. This is about the fights, the hate, the broken bones. These are the 5 players John Wark could not stand. Jan Mølby, the one he broke. This is the worst one, the one that shows what John Wark was really like when things went wrong. Jan Mølby was a midfielder at Liverpool. He was Danish. He was talented. He could pass the ball perfectly. He could score too. And he had John Wark's shirt. That was the problem. It was pre-season training in 1987. Wark was not playing much. He was frustrated. He wanted his place back. Mølby was one of the players keeping him out. So Wark did something terrible. During a training session, Wark went into a tackle on Mølby. It was not a normal tackle. It was meant to hurt. And it did. Wark broke Mølby's leg. Mølby knew it was not an accident. He said so in his book years later. He wrote that the tackle was clearly deliberate. He knew Wark did it on purpose. When someone asked Wark about it, he did not deny it. He said one word, guilty. Then he explained why. He said he did it because he was not in the team. That was his reason. He broke a teammate's leg because he was not playing. Think about that for a moment. Wark was so desperate to get back in the team that he injured the man blocking his path. This was not heat of the moment. Training sessions are not like matches. You can pull out of tackles. You can control yourself. But Wark chose not to. He saw Mølby as an obstacle, not as a teammate, not as a person, just something in his way. And he removed that obstacle with violence. The tackle did not even work. Wark still did not get his place back. Liverpool sold him a few months later. All he achieved was hurting someone and destroying a relationship. Wark also called Mølby a nosy bugger for writing about it. He was angry that Mølby told people what happened, but Wark had admitted it himself. He was guilty, and he knew it. The 2 men never spoke again. Not after that tackle, not ever. The silence between them is still there today. This was not just a bad tackle. This was a man so desperate to play that he hurt his own teammate. That is not passion. That is not competitiveness. That is violence driven by selfishness. And the worst part? Wark never properly apologised. He admitted guilt, but he never said sorry. He just moved on, as if breaking someone's leg was no big deal. Mølby had to recover from that injury. It took months. He missed games. He missed training. All because Wark could not accept being second choice. Terry McDermott, the standard. He could not beat before Wark joined Liverpool. He had to face them as an opponent, and one player terrified him, Terry McDermott. McDermott played for Liverpool in the 1970s. He was a midfielder too. He scored goals. He won trophies. He was everything Wark wanted to be. In the 1976-77 season, Ipswich played Liverpool at Anfield. Wark was young then. He was trying to prove himself, but McDermott was in a vicious mood that day. Wark used that exact word, vicious. He said McDermott played with a nastiness that scared him. McDermott dominated the match. He pushed, he kicked, he intimidated, and Liverpool won. The atmosphere that day was intense. The crowd was loud. The tackles were brutal. Wark scored a penalty late in the game, but it did not matter. Liverpool had already won. The final score was 2-1. That match ended Ipswich's hopes of winning the league. Liverpool went on to win the title and the European Cup. Ipswich finished third. Wark never forgot that feeling. He hated how McDermott made him feel small. He hated that McDermott set a standard he could not reach. Years later, Wark tried to copy that viciousness. He tried to play with the same aggression, but it did not come naturally to him. When he tried to be aggressive, he just looked desperate. When McDermott did it, He looked like a winner. The rivalry was one-sided. McDermott probably did not even notice Wark that day, but Wark noticed him, and he carried that bitterness for years. McDermott won Player of the Year in 1980. Wark won it in 1981. Wark always felt like he was chasing McDermott, always one step behind, and that ate away at him. He wanted to be as good as McDermott, but wanting it was not enough. McDermott had natural aggression, natural leadership. Wark tried to fake it, and it showed. John Barnes, the future that replaced him. John Barnes was everything Wark was not. He was fast, he was skillful, he was exciting, and he made Wark look old. The first time they clashed was in March 1984. It was Wark's debut for Liverpool. They played against Watford. Barnes played for Watford then. He was only 20 years old, but he was already brilliant. During the match, Wark and Barnes had a physical clash. Wark scored a goal that day. Liverpool won, but the clash with Barnes stayed in his mind. Even on his debut, Wark was fighting. He could not just play football, he had to prove himself physically. And Barnes, young and confident, did not back down. 3 years later, Barnes joined Liverpool. He cost £900,000. That was double what Liverpool paid for Wark, and that hurt. Barnes brought a new style of football to Liverpool. He was quick. He could dribble. He could beat players easily. The team changed to suit him, and Wark could not keep up. Wark was 30 by then. He relied on timing and positioning. He was not fast. He could not change direction quickly. And in a team built around Barnes, Wark had no place. Football was evolving. The game was getting faster, more technical. Players like Barnes represented the future. Players like Wark represented the past. But Wark did not accept this gracefully. He resented Barnes. He saw him as the reason for his decline. Not age, not injury, not better players coming through. Just Barnes. Wark admitted it himself. He said the arrival of new midfielders, including John Barnes, made him realise his time was over. The player he clashed with on his debut became the symbol of his failure. Wark saw Barnes as a threat from the start, and he was right to be worried. Barnes did not just take his place, he made him irrelevant. Barnes won titles. He became a Liverpool legend. And Wark? He went back to Ipswich with his tail between his legs. That must have hurt more than any tackle. Steve McMahon, the one who took his shirt. This rivalry was personal. Steve McMahon did not just replace Wark, he took his exact position, and the two men hated each other. McMahon joined Liverpool in 1985. He was from Merseyside. He was tough. He could tackle, he could run all day, and he was exactly what Liverpool needed. Wark had just finished his best season. He scored 27 goals. He was the top scorer at the club. But then he got injured. He broke his leg in April 1986, and while he was recovering, McMahon took his place. When Wark came back, he could not get his shirt back. McMahon was too good, he was too consistent, and he was younger. The research says they did not get on. That is a polite way of saying they hated each other. Wark could not stand McMahon, and the feeling was mutual. Part of it was jealousy. Wark was Scottish. He was an outsider at Liverpool. McMahon was local. He had Liverpool in his blood. The fans loved him, the team loved him, and Wark could not compete with that. Wark tried to get his place back. He worked hard in training, but it was not enough. McMahon was unmovable. Every time Wark looked at the team sheet, McMahon's name was there, and his was not. McMahon and Mølby formed a partnership in midfield. They understood each other. They worked well together, and they locked Wark out completely. In January 1988, Wark gave up. He left Liverpool and went back to Ipswich. He said it was the right thing to do, but really, he ran away. He could not handle being second best. McMahon won, Wark lost, and the bitterness never went away. Every week, Wark sat on the bench watching McMahon play was torture. Every training session where McMahon outperformed him was humiliating, and Wark blamed McMahon for all of it, not himself. McMahon, Terry Butcher, the internal war. This rivalry was different. Terry Butcher was a teammate at Ipswich, but he was also an enemy. Butcher was a defender. He was big, he was strong, he was intimidating, and he was English. Wark was Scottish, and at Ipswich, that mattered. In training, the coaches set up Scotland versus England matches. It was meant to be fun, but it was not. Wark said they used to kick lumps out of each other. There were fights. There was blood. It was war. This was not friendly competition. This was tribal hatred played out on the training pitch every day. Butcher represented England. Wark represented Scotland. And the old rivalry between the two countries came alive. The violence was normalised. Nobody stopped it. The coaches probably encouraged it. They thought it made the players tougher. And maybe it did, but it also taught Wark that violence was acceptable. Butcher and Wark did respect each other eventually. They even became friends off the pitch. They both appeared in the film Escape to Victory in 1981. They spent 5 weeks in Budapest filming with Pelé and Sylvester Stallone. But that does not change what happened in training. Wark learned early that if you wanted to keep your place, you had to fight, and sometimes you had to hurt people. That lesson stayed with him. When he went to Liverpool years later and felt threatened, he remembered what he learned at Ipswich. Kick lumps out of people, fight, do whatever it takes. The rivalry with Butcher was not the worst, but it was the start. It taught Wark that violence was a solution, and that made everything else possible. Those Scotland versus England training matches created a monster. They taught young players that hurting teammates was normal, and Wark never unlearned that lesson. The pattern. Look at these 5 rivalries together. A pattern appears. Every time Wark felt threatened, he reacted badly. When McDermott intimidated him, he became obsessed with being harder. When Barnes made him look slow, he felt bitter. When McMahon took his place, he could not handle it. And when Mølby blocked his path back into the team, he broke his leg. Wark was talented. Nobody can deny that. Scoring 27 goals from midfield is incredible. Winning the UEFA Cup with Ipswich was a huge achievement. He had a successful career, but success was not enough for him. He needed to be the best. He needed to be untouchable. And when he was not, he turned nasty. The broken leg incident with Mølby shows the truth. Wark was willing to hurt a teammate to get what he wanted. That is not the mark of a great player. That is the mark of someone who could not handle competition. At Ipswich, he learned that violence was normal. Fighting with Butcher every day taught him that aggression was rewarded. Then he carried that lesson to Liverpool. But at Liverpool, he was not the star anymore. He was replaceable, and he could not accept it. McMahon was better than him, Mølby was better than him, Barnes was better than him, and instead of accepting that, Wark fought back in the worst way possible. The silence between Wark and Mølby is telling. They have not spoken since that tackle. Mølby called it clearly no accident. Wark said guilty, and then they both moved on. Except they did not really move on. The silence proves that. Wark won trophies. He scored goals. He had a good career, but he also made enemies. He hurt people, and he did it because he was selfish. Football in the 1980s was tough. Players kicked each other. Tackles were brutal, but there were still lines you did not cross. Breaking a teammate's leg in training crosses that line. Wark was not a victim. He was not unlucky. He made choices, and those choices hurt people. He chose to tackle McDermott's aggression by copying it. He chose to resent Barnes instead of adapting. He chose to hate McMahon instead of accepting the situation, and he chose to break Mølby's leg. These were not accidents. They were decisions, and they show what kind of player John Wark really was. He was skilled, but he was also bitter. He was competitive, but he was also violent. He wanted success, but only on his terms. When things went wrong, he did not take responsibility. He blamed others. He hurt others, and he never really apologized. The 5 rivalries in this story are not about passion or desire. They are about insecurity. Wark could not handle being challenged, and when he was, he lashed out. That is his legacy, not just the 27 goals. Not just the trophies, but also the broken leg, the fights, the hatred, the silence. John Wark was a talented midfielder who could not control his anger, and that is what people should remember. Behind all the success was a man who turned teammates into enemies, a man who used violence when skill was not enough, a man who never learned to lose gracefully. Which of these rivalries shocked you most? Was it the broken leg, the hate for McMahon, or the violence with Butcher? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more true football stories, hit subscribe.